All right, let's talk about a problem that is, well, pretty unpleasant. You walk into your basement or your laundry room and you're hit with that mysterious sewer smell. It's frustrating, right? Well, you're in luck. In this explainer, we are going to crack this case once and for all with a really simple step-by-step guide to find that smell and get rid of it for good. You know the moment. Everything seems totally fine, and then, boom, that smell. Where is it even coming from? And is it a huge deal? Look, don't worry. We're going to walk through the entire process, starting with the absolute easiest fixes and then figuring out when it might be time to call for some backup. So, let's start our little investigation. You know, any good investigation starts by lining up the potential suspects. And when it comes to that sewer smell coming from a floor drain, our source material tells us there's actually a pretty short list of culprits.
It almost always boils down to one of three things: a water trap that's gone dry, some gunk and buildup just sitting in the drain, or a blocked plumbing vent. And the great news is, we're going to tackle these in order, from the most common and easiest to fix, right on down to the more complex stuff. First up, the number one offender, the dry trap.
Okay, before we go any further, let's talk about the unsung hero of your plumbing, the P-trap. You've definitely seen these U-shaped pipes under every single sink in your house. And guess what? There's one in your floor drain too. Its entire job is just to hold a little bit of water, which creates a seal to block nasty sewer gas, we're talking hydrogen sulfide and methane, from creeping up into your home. So it's not just about the smell, it's about keeping unhealthy stuff out.
And the whole idea is actually incredibly simple. When that P-trap has water in it, it's the perfect water shield. But if that water evaporates, which happens all the time in drains you don't use very often, it basically becomes an open door. That's when the sewer gas has a direct VIP pass right into your room. So remember this, a dry trap is by far the most common cause of this whole stinky problem.
And that's exactly why we are going to start with the simplest solution first. Seriously, before you call anyone or go out and buy any products, let's just try to get that water shield back in place. There's a really good chance this is the only step you'll need.
And here's what you do. I'm not kidding, it's this easy. Just grab a bucket, maybe a big pot of water, about a gallon will do the trick, and pour it right down that smelly floor drain. That's going to refill the P-trap and bring back that water seal. And then you just wait. Give it maybe half an hour. If that smell starts to go away, congratulations, you found your culprit and the mystery is solved.
But what if that didn't work? What if the smell is still just kind of hanging around? Well, our investigation now moves on to suspect number 2, buildup inside the actual drain pipes. You know, over time, stuff like soap scum, lint, all sorts of gunk can build up and create its own awful smell. We'll start with a safe, natural method using stuff you probably already have in your kitchen.
This is a fantastic and totally gentle way to clean things out. First, you're going to carefully pour a pot of boiling water down the drain. That'll help loosen up any of that organic gunk. Next, pour in about a cup of baking soda and then follow it with about a cup of white vinegar. You'll hear it start to fizz. That's the chemical reaction doing its job, breaking down all that debris. Just let that sit for a few minutes and then flush the whole thing out with another pot of hot water.
Now, what if the natural method just isn't cutting it? It can be really tempting to reach for one of those super powerful chemical drain cleaners. But I just want to pause here for a second because our source material tells us to be really careful, and for a very good reason.
Here's the deal. Those really harsh, caustic chemicals can actually damage your plumbing over time, especially if you have older pipes. A better option is to go for a milder, enzyme-based cleaner. These use natural enzymes to just eat away at the organic waste without being so tough on your plumbing. No matter what you choose, just make sure you always follow the directions on the bottle exactly.
Okay, so you've refilled the trap, you've cleaned the drain, but that smell is still there. This is the point where our investigation suggests we might have a bigger issue on our hands, one that's probably going to require a professional. It's time to look for signs of our third and final suspect, a blocked vent.
This right here, this quote from our source, is a huge piece of evidence. Your whole plumbing system needs air to flow right, and that's the job of the vent stack, that pipe that goes all the way up through your roof. If that thing gets blocked by leaves or, a bird's nest, your drains can't work properly. And that leads to weird gurgling sounds and, you guessed it, odors.
So here's your final checklist. If the odor is still there after you've tried the first 2 fixes, or if you're hearing that gurgling sound in other sinks or toilets, if the smell is in more than one room, or you're seeing little dried puddles near other fixtures, it's time. Put down the tools and call a licensed plumber. These are all classic signs of a venting issue, and that's just not a simple DIY fix.
All right, we solved the mystery. Now let's talk about how to make sure this never ever happens again. Because really, the best fix is just good prevention. And our source gives us a really simple, proactive plan to keep your home smelling fresh.
Here's your new game plan. It's super simple. First, if you've got a floor drain you rarely use, just think about covering it. Second, make it a habit, maybe once a month, to just pour a pitcher of water down any drain you don't use often. That'll keep that P-trap full. And finally, especially if you live in an older home, having a plumber come out for a periodic inspection can catch these little issues before they become big, smelly problems.
So let's end with this thought. That sewer smell, it isn't just an annoyance. It's a signal. It's your home's plumbing system literally trying to tell you that something isn't right. By paying attention to these signals and following these steps, you can not only fix the problem, but also become a much more proactive and savvy homeowner.